Alright, so here's the next one. This is an 08 Freightliner M2, and it was a 24-foot long flatbed truck, and we are going to be moving the axle forward. Yet again, another one. So we're going to move this thing forward, 84 cab to axle, and the only thing really different about this is the type of U-joints that they use in these. These are not the U-joints that have the strap, they have the bolt-in cap. And for the longest time, I have used a bottle jack and a hammer to put pressure on one side, tap it through the other side to get these things apart. And, you know, you just gotta, I just want something better. So, you know, I've been looking at buying these tools for a long time, and I've looked at many different manufacturers, and then I got in contact with Tiger Tool because I saw on their website there were some instructional videos that they did on how to use their U-joint press. So let me see if I can get that out of there. All right, so this is what they call their heavy-duty Driveshaft service kit. So this, now the part number is 20175, and I've been holding off starting another project because I really wanted to use this tool because it'll make it so much easier. I like that already. It's in a blow molded case. Register your Tiger tool today. That's pretty cool. Blow molded case. I always like that. I like to keep my tools organized. Some of this kind of fell out in shipping, but anyways. So this is the U-joint press. And the way this thing works is you slide it in the yoke, slide one end of the yoke on here, and it presses here, and it's actually designed to use an impact, which is such a nice thing. So I can't wait to use this. And then also they sent me in this kit, this is a yoke removal tool. So this would go in like so. And then you'd put this the right way, I guess. Is the right way. And you set these across your yoke, and then find your appropriate bolts to go through to bolt into the yoke itself. And then you would take the nut off of the pinion, and you would impact this and drive it and pull it off. I didn't have a project right now that I needed this for, but this is what they decided to send me, and I'm very pleased they did, because I'll definitely have a use for that. But we're gonna show this thing in use for sure. We're gonna be working on that truck, and we'll be using the U-joint press for sure. Now you can buy their stuff on their website, which is what I was doing. What I had done was look at their website, because they make several different sizes of these, and they list it on their website as to this size to this size, you need this tool. And what I mean by that is the end cap. There are several different diameters of that press-in, bolt-in cap. So you just match up the one you want. And this is the one that I need. So anyways, without further ado, we're going to put it to work. So the first thing I'm going to do is get these U-joints out of here. Get these drive shafts. We got to take a look at the transmission. This is a 3-piece drive shaft, and after doing the measurements, I'm going to have at least the rear one shortened, and probably not use the front one if I remember right. I'll have to do my measurements again. Now when I do these measurements, what I do is I figure it out this way. measure the back of the cab, the center of the axle, what we have now. Figure out where we want to go. Let's say this is 186 inches, which is pretty common. And I want to go to 84 cab to axle, 84 inches. So that means I'm taking out 102 inches. So since I'm moving the axle forward 102 inches, I have to take 102 inches out of the drive shaft. Now, obviously, none of these drive shafts are 102 inches long. So I'm going to have to take it out of two. I'll remove one of them and then I'll shorten the other one. I would like to use the longer section so I could get my carrier bearing back here as far as I can and then shorten the rear one. Put a little oil on the threads on any tool that has an arbor. This is a nice heavy tool. It's built well. It's actually okay to use a impact on it too. Like that. Yes, I can get it in there. Good deal. Okay. 1/4 socket.
Okay.
I'm gonna add that a little bit in the bind. Oh, that one just don't want to come out. Well, I can tap it out. Alright, so you see how easy that was with that tool. It is such a huge time saver, especially if you have to deal with U-joints that have been in there a long time. It really makes things so much simpler. Now, I'm taking out the rear drive shaft U-joint here. I have to take all three joints apart because we're eliminating the center section, we're using the rear section because it has a slip yoke in it, and we're using the front section. So we're going to move the carrier bearing location, and we have to have the front drive shaft shortened and the rear drive shaft shortened, and then after it's shortened we'll have them both balanced together as a unit and we'll put it back in. But we'll get this all apart now and we'll bring you back just as soon as we're ready to start on the next part. All right, so I left the video camera inside, and I just, went to work. I got the air tank out, all the wiring's pulled back, all the air lines are pulled back. I've got all the cross members that I'm taking out right now cut out. All the suspension is loose, the drive shaft is completely out front to back, including the hangers. The rear is loose, cross members are done. We are ready to lay out for holes. Again, we're going to go from 186 cab to axle to 84 cab to axle. I got my marks here and there, but anyways, we're going to start off. Next is we'll lay everything out and start drilling holes. I'm not going to go in depth about this because anybody that's watched my channel for any amount of time knows that how we do this. It's very simple. In this situation, I'm not using blue tape on the frame because the frame is waxy and dirty, and it's not going to stick to it. So I'm making lines that I can see in the crud that's on there. These are the hangers and the helper springs. I usually sharpen my pencil before I start, but I didn't today. We're removing 102 inches. Or moving it forward 102 inches. We have 186 cab to axle, and we are going to 84. This 102 is a very common size, or a very common movement for 24 footers. Now we're done with this. Set this off the side. Next we'll take our tape measure. All right, rather than trying to remember measurements for each of these, I put painter's tape on my tape measure, and I mark it front hanger, rear hanger. You're kind of in the light. Helper, I just mark as to what designates any differences. Like this is rear hanger, so I need to be on this side, and I just hook it on the top of the frame here, and then hold it here and pull it tight, and then just mark it rear hanger, rear hanger, rear hanger. That's all there is to that. And I go to the next one. Rear hanger, rear hanger, and rear hanger. Then this is the helper, and I mark them differently. That says helper hanger. A lot of times the way you mark this, or the way I do it, makes it to where I eliminate most chances of screwing something up. Not all, but most. This is a helper. I'm starting to get on the wrong side of the light here. I think I'm all right. Okay, now we're on to front hanger. Front hanger, there should be 4 on the front hanger. Front hanger, front hanger, front hanger, and front hanger. All right, now I'll come back and center punch those. I don't need my pretty glasses anymore. Oh, wait, yeah, I gotta center punch that. I always do a light center punch to begin with, just in case I'm off. Because if you're off, you can manipulate the steel up and then straighten out and get it right on. I need that green thing over there.
Okay.
All right, I'll get these center punched out. All right, that is one side completely drilled. My annular cutter is dull and needs sharpened, and I don't have another one. I did, but I broke it. I think I mentioned that in another video. So we're using a small bit as a pilot and then going up to our actual bolt hole size we need. So this side's done. Now we're going to go over to the other side, start drilling that. Okay, so this side is all drilled out now. So the next step is we're gonna grab a hold of the back of the frame with the grate on, leave the axle where it is, take our jack stands out, and pull the frame this way while we shove the cross members forward, and I'll get that film. Alright, so these are the bolts I like to use. They're a flange bolt and fine thread grade 8s. This is what I like to use on chassis. Sometimes I can't because the manufacturer, well, the supplier was out because of that whole virus thing, and they couldn't get what I needed. But I gotta get this cross member turned just a little bit because it's a little bit crooked here. Actually, you know what the real problem is? These go down here. We're in the wrong spots here, lady.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah. You see the old hangers here? We need to be on the bottom. That one needs to stay open.
I didn't know that.
So,
okay. All right.
Alright, drive shaft is in. See this white paint mark? This is what the driveline shop uses to tell us which orientation it needs to be in, because that's how they balance it. I got all the U-joints back in and they're all greased. Everything's ready to go. Alright, so let's talk about why I chose to put that cross member right like there, right where it's at. Talk with the drive shaft shop, and we have to make a compromise. We have a lot going on in this little bitty area. First off, one thing we have to worry about is the DPF. It's large, it's in the way. I had to make it so we could work with that. We also have, this truck's getting a dump bed, and it's a big, long, tall dump bed, and part of the dump assembly needs to be in this area, and it comes back so far, and it dips down just below the frame, just a little bit, the way it's mounted. And I had to stay clear of that on both sides, so that's as far back as I could go. It worked out that I could use these two holes for the air tank mount, which worked out well. The only problem was, in order to get the compromise for the drive shaft where we wanted it, I couldn't put the carrier bearing support on this side of the cross member like you traditionally would. I had to put it on the back. Now you might think it's an L shape, why don't you just turn it around? Well, we can't, because that particular one, as most of them, the carrier bearing support is not a perfect 90. Typically that leg down here is like this, so that it puts the carrier bearing just on a slight tilt to match the angle of the drive shaft coming down. So it needed to go on the back side. So what I did was take quarter plate and I made it a couple inches wider than the actual carrier bearing support on either side, a little bit taller and a little bit longer, and then I welded it across here on the top and the bottom. Before I welded it in, I made sleeves, spacers, for where the bolt holes are, and I welded them to this plate. And they're tubing, just some small tubing, and I made them, that one was not the right length, by the way. That's why it's out there. I made them to where they would weld to the back of this plate and just touch the inside. So when we squeeze it down, it touches then, once we tighten it down. These are not the right bolts. I have to go get them. I didn't have the right ones. These are grade 5s. I need 3 grade 8 3.5s, and all I have is 2 grade 8 4.5s. So I have to go get some. Now, I've got this drive shaft set up right now the way it was when I took it apart with no load. So the front angle coming back to the carrier, where that point is to there, that angle is set just like it was beforehand. Now, he's going to put, the guy that's doing this truck is going to put a dump bed on here. Like I said, it's very heavy. So what I did is, they haul a lot of heavy stuff. So I put in spacer blocks. These are used by Freightliner. These are 1/4 inch plates here. So I put those in there so that if indeed he needs to change that, because his normal ride height, empty, affects that driveline angle, he can move it up. Because what will happen is, if he's heavy, that's going to bring the back of the drive shaft up, which will take that out of it. So if he's not happy, he can just remove some of them, or if that's not enough, I mean, there's a 1/2 inch adjustment there, he could re-drill these holes back here if need be. But anyways, that's where we're at. I have some zip tying to do, some wiring. I wanted to wait until I was all finished welding here so nothing got hot. And I got to do these airlines, so that's going to be next. Alright, we're all done. 2 new batteries in. All my zip tying of all my lines is done. Everything's okay. The lights are on it. I ended up drilling a couple holes in that cross member and running that airline under there. And I put it in loom. You can see it's in one of those, 2 of those insulated rubber straps. And I went under because I figured if that wire can be that close to the exhaust without worried about it getting hot, I'm even farther away, so we should be all right. And tidied up all the wiring back here, and I got my new airlines run over here, and I put them in loom and zip tied them to the back, and then brought them all together right here and put them in loom, and so they go under the frame and across that cross member. Some of them go forward, some of them go back, but all tied up, zip tied up. I've separated my airlines and electrical right there. Got wire loom on anything I think is going to rub. I got it zip tied where hopefully it doesn't move and doesn't cause anybody any trouble. But that's it on this one, guys. We're going to call it done. We're going to move on to the next one. We may be putting 6 tires on this truck. I'm not sure yet. It's got the wrong size tires on it. It's got 11R 22.5s in the rear, but you know, look, they're all steer tires. And even the direction is going wrong, you can see here. And the front has 295, 75, 22.5s. Yeah, low pro 22.5s. It's supposed to have 11R 22.5s front and rear. So I may order up some tires and put on it, or look and see what I have used. This is the wheel on the back of that truck, and it's pretty rusty. I looked, I had some good 4 matching drive tires, and the wheels were in better shape, so we cleaned them up with a flap disc wiped them down, gave them 2 coats of primer, 3 coats of paint. I painted the lug nuts, and we also went ahead and did the hubs front and rear, and then that way we got a nice finished product. It's much better than it was. It didn't have any front steer tires that were good enough for this truck really, so I pulled the front tires off, cleaned the rims up, and painted them as well. We ordered up brand new front tires, which we rarely ever do, but got some brand new tires there. And the back ones were some nice ones that I had. We just cleaned the wheels up as you saw, painted the hubs, I painted the lug nuts. It's a shame the lug nuts get beat up by the impact, but as you can see, I paint them. It is what it is. It's better than rust. Got the drive shaft all done. You saw that. And we cleaned and painted both sides of the wheels, insides and outs, so that you know, they're in good shape. So this one's done. That'll be the end of this, and we'll move on to the next one. I really don't know what the next one's going to be at this point for you guys, because we're really not doing much with videoing right now, because we're really kind of enjoying getting all this work done without all the cameras, dealing with cameras and editing and all that kind of stuff. But there you go, Freightliner M2. Used to be 186 cabbed axle, now it's 84 cabbed axle.